I was 16. When I met Jesus, how it felt in my heart to know that God was love and how He really sees us. I still believe it. Just because I'm a believer doesn't mean I don't forget that my heart is a deceiver and there's doubts in my head. But I belong to a Redeemer who's not finished with me yet. I could break it all and He'd make it all new. That's a gospel truth. That's a gospel truth. I was just thinking, sitting in the backyard, watching my two little girls swinging. Hope I'm a good dad. God knows that I'm not perfect, but I'm keeping my eyes on the one who is. Even though I hurt him, He still calls me friend. Just because I'm a believer doesn't mean I don't forget that my heart is a deceiver and there's doubts in my head. But I belong to a Redeemer who's not finished with me yet. I could break it all and He'd make it all new. That's a gospel truth. That's a gospel truth. No lie, it's true. All the logic in the world could never pull me through. No lie, it's true. All the logic in the world could never pull me through. I was just thinking, did I turn out to be who I wanted to be when I was dreaming? Back when I was 16. Yeah, I may be a believer, that doesn't mean I don't mess up. Cause there's holes in my witness, but He's still filling my cup. For Him I wish I could be better, but He says that I'm enough. It's done, and there's nothing I could do. That's a gospel truth. That's a gospel truth. That's a gospel truth. That's a gospel truth. So you can just do this if you want. I know you're clapping that way. And if you're not doing this, what? I'm just kidding. No, I wrote that song actually at the very beginning of, well, it was like June, so we were well into to COVID season, and I had kind of been holed up in my house for a couple of months, and we have kind of a fun backyard. Um, and I just found things to do in the backyard, like burn things, which was a lot of fun when it was wintertime. But when it got hot outside, I was like, I'm just itching to like be with people and go do things. And so my first writing session after lockdown was with this guy named Luke Laird, and Luke and I have been friends since college, and he lives 5 houses down from me. So it was good just to get together and start collaborating again. And that was the song that I wrote. And being in this season, um, summer was pretty fantastic. We didn't really travel at all, um, but we kind of redefined what summertime was for us, and we have two very small little girls, so uh, it was really just kind of a sweet season, even though COVID has definitely had its byproducts of really crappy things. It's also had some really good things as well. And I think if I've learned anything from this year, it's how to shift my perspective a little bit. Um, that we do have our health, and we have a lot to be thankful for. This is where I fit in the Thanksgiving talk. But um, but I'm especially just thankful that I get to write songs, and I've learned more than any other season how much my music has meant to people. Um, that's what I listen to when I'm stressed out or I'm afraid. I listen to music. And so I hope that my music could be that for you this afternoon. And I think I'll play one more for you, and then we'll do a worship tune if that's cool. Um, there was a song that when I was working up at Lost Canyon back in 2000, and it was either 6 or 7. Tanita can tell me what it was. Yeah, she's shaking her head. But Tanita and I were on assignment together, and it was the last assignment. Tanita, that was my last assignment that I did. Isn't that crazy? Um, because things got busy after that for me, and but I happened to be up at camp with her husband was there, just kind of filming, and my record label was calling and saying, "Hey, Brandon, your song is doing really well on the charts, and we need to get you home to do a music video." And I was like, well, I can't leave. I can't leave camp. I have to finish out my commitment here, but I know a guy that could make me a video. And so, if you, after all this is done, if you want to go and uh, Google Brandon Heath, I'm Not Who I Was, my very first music video done by Ashley Maddox at Lost Canyon. so, so I'll play that one in honor of Tanita being here. I wish you could see me now. I wish I could show you how I'm not who I was. Used to be mad at you, little on the hurt side too, but I'm not who I was. I found my way around to forgiving you some time ago, but I never got to tell you. So found us in a photograph, saw me and I had to laugh. You know I'm not who I was. You were there, you were right above me, and I wonder if you ever loved me just for who I was. When the pain came back again, like a bitter friend, it was all that I could do to keep myself from blaming you. Oh, reckon it's a funny thing. I figured out I could sing, now I'm not who I was. Writing about love and such, maybe because I wanted so much. I'm not who I was. I was thinking maybe I should let you know I'm not the same, but I never did forget your name. Hello, hello, ooh, ooh, na 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 na, na 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 na. The thing I find most amazing, amazing grace, is the chance to give it out. Maybe that's what love is all about. I wish you could see me now. I wish I could show you how I'm not who I was. Yeah. So thanks, Tanita. Make sure you thank your husband for his many multi talents for that music video. Um, so if y'all don't know my story, just very quickly, I came to know Jesus in 1995 through Young Life. I was a camper at Malibu. I grew up in Nashville, but I was a camper at Malibu, and yes, we came from Nashville all the way to the Pacific Northwest. I have no idea why, but I'm okay with it because Malibu is an amazing place. And so that's when I began my walk with Jesus. And over the years, I have stayed committed and friends with all my Young Life family. And I thought it would be especially fun to show you in the background this. I got to turn the light on so you can actually see it. Let's see. No, not that one. This one. Okay. This mantle right here, this is from Malibu. It is from, let's see, it is from Sequoia, the cabin that they tore down to build the new club room. I may have finagled my way into it. So I begged and pleaded with Harold, and made a donation to the new club room. But it hangs in it hangs in our house. It's a little piece of Malibu, and it's honestly one of my most prized uh, possessions because Malibu is one of my most prized places, and it's my friendships with all of you that make it really special. So I'm going to lead one more song with everybody, and I'm pulling up the lyrics because I know my lyrics a lot better than I know other people's songs. But this one uh, is one that the first time I heard it, I connected with it. If you know Waymaker, that's what I'm about to play, or you could look it up online and just follow along with the lyrics. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, That is who you are. Amen. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Brandon. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for the work that you're continuing to do. It's really important, more important than you know.
Mm-hmm. Really means a lot to have you join. Feel like we could have
God
like,
bless you guys.
Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Blowing kisses to you. You can't receive them. There's too much spittle, but
Mwah.
Love you, buddy.
You guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
See ya.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, Craig.
All right. I gotta grab something here.
Do you feel properly set up, Craig, or do we need to do a little bit more that you can feel set up?
No, I'm good. It is good to see some of you. Eberth. I wish I could see your pretty face, but you look like you're properly spelled there. So
I'm here. I'm here.
Gaio, it's good to see your name on my screen. Well, yeah, like Jeff said, we had a meeting with Stan and Colleen and Ken and myself the other day, and it was right on the kind of the morning after the announcement of another shutdown and the discouragement. And if you're anything like me, I regularly imagine how other people feel, and yet I'll spring into action based on that. And I've also spent enough time in the counselor's office doing personal work over the years and spiritual direction, formation work, where I realized, and I had somebody who cared enough about me to tell me point blank that, presuming upon someone else's feelings is it's just a rude thing to do. So I don't want to work with the assumption of how you're feeling or doing right now. I'm just going to tell you how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, and testify to what God is doing in the midst of that. I'd shared something with Jeff and Colleen and Stan and Ken about feeling like I was being cocooned yet again. And the idea and the teaching around, the caterpillar and the cocooning process is one that you all know. Perhaps you've talked on that, using that as an illustration of the informing change of the Spirit's work in our life and how we become formed and transformed and renewed, and we become like a butterfly. But it is a fascinating thing that if the cocoon process is in any way impeded by a well-intentioned person who wants to help the cocoon open sooner than it's designed to be open, then you're robbing the butterfly of becoming what the butterfly needs to become a butterfly, and it will not fly, or it will not form, and it will surely die. So the cocooning process, painful and long as it is quite the process. And so that's how I'm feeling. And Jeff has connected with that, and he and I have shared some about that. I want to share and testify to a couple of other things, and then just open up the notion that the Lord would actually do something for you and for me today that literally could change the universe for us, but have that not be, I hope it happens. It's born out of the willingness of who God really is. Brandon's songs all touch us, and they touch me especially, and that just because I'm a believer doesn't mean that I don't forget or mess up. Those two hooks to that first song touched me deeply, because after following Jesus for all of these years, I realized that I just regularly need reminders. And yet I think of myself as one. I mean, for goodness sakes, I've been doing this for a long time. I too came to Christ through Young Life at 16 at Malibu. And I can assure you it wasn't 1995. And it wasn't in 1985, it was in 1978. And I think, my gosh, I should have this dialed. Why don't I have it dialed? And then the Lord speaks to me in the way that the Lord speaks to me. And he said, who told you that you have to have it dialed? So I've come to testify to and I'm going to use the testimony of two women in my life that have profoundly affected me, to say how my testimony has been open to this idea of cocooning. The first one involves a gal that none of you have ever met. Her name is Ragnhild from Norway, Moshen, Norway. She was born in 1900, immigrated to the United States in 1917, met a guy named Bert Knudsen Ronning, who they ended up marrying in 1922, and they are my grandparents from Norway. They worked fishing boats up in Alaska, and in 1936, they gave birth to their only child, Bert Roy Knudsen Ronning, who is my father. And that's my family history. I don't have a lot of cousins on that side of the family, because my dad was an only child. But I was very, very close to my grandma Ronning. My grandpa Ronning died in 1965 when I was 3 years old. In 1968 or 70, somewhere in that range, my grandma developed very acute arthritis in her hands. And to work the fingers into some relief, she would keep them busy doing things with fine motor skills. She taught herself how to play the guitar. She taught herself how to do rose mulling painting at a higher level. And she began making mosaics out of broken glass and shells and marbles and polished rocks. And I grew up with a grandma who made incredible pieces of art, so much so that when she died in 1993, we literally gathered hundreds of pieces of finished artwork that were all mosaics and held this great big art show at the Kirkland Women's Gallery. And they took all the proceeds and they did a scholarship in my grandmother's name. There were hundreds and hundreds of pieces that they hauled out of her attic. And she did it my entire life, and I didn't pay it a second thought. I pulled one of these down off my shelf. Now you can't really see this with any detail, but as I bring it closer, there were 30 or 40 of these salmon, and it is broken glass. These are broken oyster shells. That's a polished rock. And what she would do is she would take the pieces. These are probably mostly 7-Up bottles. And she would break it. And then she'd put it in a rock tumbler, tumble the glass, and then hour after hour, every night of her entire life, put these together. Primarily started because her fingers hurt so bad that the only way she could get some relief is just to keep them going. And she would make strong coffee the way only a good Norwegian can make it, where you boil the grounds in a saucepan, and then you pour the coffee through a strainer into a cup. And oh my gosh, it's amazing that I even like coffee today, because that stuff was a whole new level of strong. But when grandma got sick, she got pancreatic cancer around 1991. And, I was very, very close to my grandma. My children were close to my grandmother. And I go visit my grandma and see her all the time. And my kids loved her. Anyway, I had this conversation with her one time where I was raised to become an uptight evangelical, like some of my friends are. And I didn't see her going to church a lot, and I didn't see her reading her Bible every day. And I didn't know if she knew the 4 spiritual laws or whatever. And so as she is hospicing with pancreatic cancer, I set out to go ask her if she knows Jesus. To which she looks at me like I'm the dumbest knob in the doorknob factory. Like, of course I know Jesus, you dork. And then I asked her, well, how come you don't go to church? And she goes, well, you do know that I've never had a driver's license. And you do know that I'm 93 years old. And it ain't like I'm going to walk. So I go to church when you pick me up. That's how I remember it. That's not exactly what she said, but that's how I remember it. But she just said, Craig, you worry about too much. And as she died, and as we cleaned out her house, and I saved, a dozen or so items like this fish and the picture of the town in Norway that she grew. Oh, well, I'm not going to hold that one up. That's too heavy. I realized what the prophet said when he speaks of the Lord and says, he is the one who causes beauty to rise up from the ashes. He is the one who makes beauty from broken things. My grandma's life was a testimony of that. So I began polishing rocks. And I brought a small sample of what you can't see. Ouch, there was a little cup check right there. A couple spilled out. I began polishing rocks because polishing rocks was something my grandma always had a rock polisher going. And it was a fascinating thing for me to begin rock polishing about 5 years ago. And I was in the middle of a very fun adventure of handing out rocks to some friends whose lives had been very near and dear to me. And I would meet with somebody whose life had impacted me. Some of you guys know my friend Kai Griffin. Kai Griffin and I grew up together. I met with Kai at a donut shop in Lakeland Hills, down near Kent. And when I turned 50, my wife gave me the gift of, she wanted to throw a big birthday party for me. And I didn't know who to invite, how to do it, all that kind of stuff. It was just kind of a weird time. But she gave me permission to go meet with anybody who'd had an impact in my life and just sit down with them. She said, that's what I'd like you to do for your 50th birthday. I'm cutting that story way short, but Kai and I had a great friendship growing up. And so I gave him a rock, something like this, and told him what his life had meant to me. And we enjoyed that. I've been all across the country handing out rocks. I call it the Stoning My Friends initiative. I've handed out 270 some rocks. I've been as far as Washington, D.C., and went and met with my high school coach. I went and met with my 5th grade teacher who's still alive. But it's part of my testimony of these rocks, because my grandma had taught me that there's something valuable about sitting there. And so I just decided that, the Old Testament talks a lot about rocks. There's the great Ebenezer story of Samuel reminding us that the Lord has brought us thus far. And it really brings me to the testimony that I have, because I feel somewhat a kinship with the gal whom Jesus met with very privately one day. And we end up having this longest human encounter story in all of the Gospels of Jesus meeting with a woman. You know the story, you've taught the story, you've used it many, many times, of the woman that Jesus meets with at the well, where it's just she and Jesus. The disciples are off in town getting some food. And Jesus asks her for some water. And she starts asking him some really interesting questions about him being a Jew. And she notices he doesn't have a cup. And there's all those things. What's fascinating to me about that story and the way I relate to it, the first gal who affects my life is Wronghild. The next gal, nobody knows her name. Nobody knows her name. But she's not a nobody. She is a somebody. Because what happened in her life, I need to happen in my life today. I need what Jesus did in her life to happen today. I need the springs of living water that he promised would flow from her to flow. And so, in some way, shape, or form, the woman who none of you will ever know, my grandma, she is the one whom God sent to say, Craig, this broken and hard season that you're gone through, because my family's been going through some broken and hard stuff for a long time. I believe, I try, I work hard, and then it doesn't work. I believe, I try, I work hard, and it doesn't work. And I'm like the guy that Brandon sang about. I've been a believer a long time, but I got to be reminded, which is why I carry rocks around with me, and why I hang mosaics from my wall, and why I go back and regularly read stories like the Samaritan woman is. And it's not just a story. What's fascinating to me about it, John, who writes the story in his gospel and gives it 40 some verses, he wasn't there to see it. No one was. How did he know it? The gal told him over and over. And the story just went, and it's just fascinating to me. How do you know what happened? She just kept telling it. She kept telling the story over and over. It's an amazing story. But what things that we remember about her, she became a culture changing, Samaritan village changing person. But before that, that's not who she was. The second song Brandon sang, I'm not who I was. She was not who she was anymore. But I will forget that, and so will you, because somebody comes down and announces that we're going to shut the state down, or somebody comes along and says that they've disavowed their faith, or somebody comes along or it does whatever. And it activates all kinds of stuff. And I was never responsible for some of that stuff anyway, but I need to be reminded. So this rock polishing thing is serving as the current reminder. This is my current testimony to you. I'm polishing rocks because the process is violent and it's painstakingly long. And so do I. And so I told you that this was about the testimony about how I'm doing. I find myself very much appreciating rock polishing. I find myself very much appreciating the mosaics my grandma made. And I found myself very much appreciating the God who is in the story of the woman at the well, to whom Jesus said, the day is coming when true worshipers will worship God in spirit and in truth. And for me, the truth involves just telling God how I feel, not what I think he wants to hear. And for those of us who've been around for a long time, who somehow get tasked with holding part of the world together for people who are very needy, that's hard to do, which is why times like this are so important, so meaningful, so significant. Confession, as you know, does not mean saying I'm sorry. Confession means I will tell you the truth. I will tell you how I feel. And for me, I have to tell God not only how I feel, but what I think it says about me. Because that is the gateway for me to come into the clearest context of what some people would call my false identity. I think I am because fill in the blank. I think COVID has offered me nothing but opportunity to do that. I think the brokenness in my family is going to last forever. I'm the one with the broken family who's now not able to fix it. That's not who I am. It's how I feel. I am the one who doesn't like the social injustice in the world, or I am the one who fill in the blank. But that's not my identity. It's how I feel about myself. And that's when this idea of opening up to the true worship that Jesus says is this woman through whom springs of living water now flowed, this woman who rushed down to a town and with whatever ability she had, conveyed a message that caused the town to come find Jesus. I don't know. I need that. I need that kind of living water to come out. And it's interesting. The last thing I'll share with you, and I know that we're running short on time. I would love to hear the Lord move, and I'm going to actually ask him to move in you here in just a second. Be glorified in our lives. Amen.
Amen. Craig, thank you. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. But just trust that God is at work in you. We wish we could change and be out of this cocoon and be out of the 60 grit, the 100 grit. But the Lord is at work in you. And keep being honest with those feelings. Marcus, thank you for just sharing about that feeling useless. I bet if we did a show of hands of how many of us feel like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm taking up space. But just trust that God is at work in you and through you. And just reading Revelation, it's about being faithful to the end. I don't know if it means the end of the age or the end of the season, but God is, he is at work in us. So blessings you all. Thank you.